Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. A couple of days ago, it was rumoured that Steven Spielberg might be directing the Fantastic Four movie for Marvel Studios. But why? What's the point? You don't have free reign on those movies. We saw what happened to Sam Raimi. We've seen what's happened to Taika Waititi. He's had to come out and lie like David Ayer lied when he said there was no director's cut of the Suicide Squad when the movie that he was promoting that had been released wasn't even his movie. It's the same for Love and Thunder as well. So even though I've gone a bit harsh in the past over Taika Waititi because I do think he's an overrated director, that For Love and Thunder movie isn't his movie. But he's a company man. He keeps on wanting to work for them. He knows he wants to do this upcoming Star Wars film as well. It's all about the money. It's all corrupt. Anyway, right, so as I say, what's the point of Steven Spielberg directing an MCU movie? Now, it would be very, very difficult for Kevin Feige to police Steven Spielberg like he polices other, lower echelon directors, if you like. I mean, how he controlled Sam Raimi, I don't know. I think Sam got his way with a few things, and I think that's why Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness ultimately slightly a better movie than For Love and Thunder. That's not fair. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is a much better movie than For Love and Thunder, but it has huge issues, as the MCU Phase 4 has in its entirety. So, no, I don't see Steven Spielberg directing an MCU movie. So why has this rumour been put out there? Well, as you know, since For Love and Thunder has been released, there's been a lot of negativity out there. The fans are coming for Kevin Feige and they need a distraction. So why not put out a fake rumour? Now, apparently that rumour has now been confirmed to not be true. So it doesn't look like Steven Spielberg will be directing a Marvel movie anytime soon, let alone a Fantastic Four movie. Good. I'm a DC fan. I don't want MCU fans going, oh, look, we've got Steven Spielberg. What have you got? We've got Todd Phillips. Have some of that. Made one of the best DC movies of all time. Zack Snyder, great director, great creative. Some of you may not think that, but I'm proud of the Snyderverse. But anyway, I don't want an icon like Steven Spielberg getting anywhere near the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just like I don't want Tom Cruise to be involved with the MCU either. We'd never hear the fucking end of it by the sheer media, critics and pundits. I don't want those type of things to happen. Now, talking of Steven Spielberg, back in 2018, it was actually announced that he would be directing a DC movie called Black Hawk, written by his very good friend and writer, David Cohen. Now, like a lot of exciting things in DC, going back to the late 80s, like Christopher Reeve pitched this idea for Superman, to cameo in Batman 89, and it never fucking happened. Maybe in one video we can talk about that one day. What a tragedy that was. I mean, us DC fans are used to these disappointments, right? So anyway, Steven Spielberg was supposed to direct this movie based on the DC comic book character, Black Hawk. I know jack shit about this character, but I was very excited because Steven Spielberg was going to be directing this and they were going to give him full creative control because Steven wouldn't be involved otherwise. So back in February, March 2022, David Cohen, his good friend and writer, spoke about the possibilities of this movie still happening with director Steven Spielberg at the helm. Let's reread this and check out the details. Black Hawk writer gives update on DC film, Steven Spielberg's involvement. Now, this was March the 26th of 2022. So some of you may already know about this, some of you may not, but we're going to go through it because I thought this lie about Spielberg directing Fantastic Four has come out, and a lot of people have done this. They've gone back to this situation because I don't know what went wrong. Jeff Johns approached Steven Spielberg. It was a big coup for Jeff Johns as creative officer at DC at the time. That's something he absolutely got right. But I think as it changed hands, they decided against it. They decided to go another direction. I don't know why you would go another direction away from Steven Spielberg. He is the Don. Legendary director Steven Spielberg has been lined up to direct a film based on the DC Comics group Black Hawks, a group of World War II era pilots for some time now. Now, writer David Coep, who is writing the script for the Black Hawk film, gave an update on where the project stands. "We have a script that's very good and we think it's very good," Coep told Collider. "There were a lot of management changes at Warner Brothers, so I think we've just been kind of waiting for that to settle down and for them to decide what they want to do with their DC universe." Coep also touched on Spielberg's potential involvement. "Obviously, I hope Spielberg does it, or if he doesn't direct it, I hope he produces it. And someone great directs," said Coep, "because it would be a great deal of fun. I'm very fond of the script and I hope it comes together. But again, that's one of those movies that's going to need 200 million. Wow, so trying to get those whales off the beach is a big process." This is probably why Hamada didn't want to do this, because at the time they brought in Hamada to bring in films in very low budgets. And I think films like Shazam, you can tell that. Even though I love Shazam, I'm not doing down Shazam. Pie eaters at the back, don't have a go at me. But just making that point. No wonder they wanted to get away from this movie directed by Spielberg. That's a shame. For those unaware, the Black Hawks were a group of World War II era ace pilots who fight tyranny and depression, and who debuted in the issue of Military Comics in August 1941. Due to the group being set in a specific era, Coep said that there were never any plans to set a Black Hawk film in the same universe of other DC projects like Wonder Woman or Aquaman, specifically because it wouldn't make much sense. No, because the Black Hawks are set in the 40s. So yeah, that's understandable and I'm cool. But there could be an Elseworld version of Superman and Wonder Woman set in those eras, in the universe that Spielberg was going to deal with here. It could have been very exciting, just for a little cameo, right? The history of a Black Hawks film stretches pretty far back, with Spielberg expressing interest in directing a film based on the group since the early 80s. However, the project was eventually cancelled and Spielberg went on to direct Raiders of the Lost Ark instead. In 2018, the Black Hawk project was revived, and Spielberg was attached as the director and producer. While production was reportedly set to start following the completion of Spielberg's West Side Story, it's now unclear if the legendary filmmaker will be involved. He has to be involved. We need him involved, otherwise there's no excitement for this project. There's not even a point in doing this project without Spielberg. So that's the article going back to March the 26th. I still actually think there's a good chance of them doing this, because we know what David Zaslav has been doing since Warner Brothers Discovery has come in. He's been going to people who have been, let's just say, driven away by Toby Emmerich, Walter Hamada, you know, the previous incumbents of Warner Brothers Pictures and DC Live Action. I'm sure that David Zaslav can see the profitability and height level with Steven Spielberg directing a DC movie. Let's go back 2 days and, you know, the hype over on Twitter and, you know, other social media platforms with this rumor that Spielberg was going to direct the Fantastic Four movie. You know, people were excited. Steven Spielberg is a lot older, but he's still a huge name. We mustn't forget that West Side Story was a flop. What does that say? That says that Spielberg hasn't got the pull he used to. Or does it? He directed a brilliant film many, many years ago starring Richard Dreyfuss. No, not Close Encounters, but Always. Now, Always was a very kind of ghost type of movie. It was very, very good, about a pilot who dies and his ghost comes back to put things right. Very similar to the Ghost movie starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore and Whoopi Goldberg. Bit of a rip-off, but I liked it. But it was a flop. And that was back when Spielberg was a huge deal. So it may not necessarily mean that he's lost his pull. Look, Steven Spielberg is probably now, in his 80s, but I've seen him. He's very fit. He's still a good talker. He can communicate to actors and the people on the set. So I'm very much in favour of this happening. In fact, with this rumour of Spielberg, directing Fantastic Four, which I absolutely believe was fake news, never going to happen, but we've got to be careful here. Because if DC doesn't get him, eventually the MCU may do. And this would be a huge defeat for the DC Extended Universe. So we must get Steven Spielberg to do Black Hulk. This is something he's really, really passionate about. Let's get him. Let's revive this fantastic DC live action universe because there's so many good things about it. It's not all bad. Mr. Saslav, go and get Steven Spielberg and go and get him now. This has been Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you for tomorrow's show. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.